What is up, YouTube? Scrambling away on the XLCH again. I got the motor-ish done except for the intake stuff. I was going to go about putting this in. I bent up the housing pretty good trying to get the seal out, so this is on pause until I can get a new steel seal in the cover. I know I can pound it back, but for $6 it doesn't really make sense. Kicker shaft is going to go in. We're going to start messing around on the primary side and then slide this back and try and get, maybe make a roller. We'll see how far we get tonight. Turn you guys around and we'll start on the kicker shaft. Well, before we get started on the kicker shaft, look at all this hard sweat equity that Dottie's investing into this chopper. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Cleaning. You're a slave.
Driver. Whole lot of polishing and cleanup stuff every time I get to the oddball nuts and bolts where I think I'm about done with something and ready to move on. They're really, really dirty, and now everything else looks nice. It's Pandora's box when you start cleaning up everything, and this is where we're at. So on the kicker shaft, it comes with a squared off O-ring or washer. Let me see if I can find one. I'm going to try a trick that I saw on Tatro Machine. He uses the rocker O-rings, 2 of them, because the O-rings actually roll onto the shaft, as opposed to the stock squared off one that will catch on here and usually get cut up as soon as I put them in and never seal. So we're going to give that a shot. We got kicker shaft. We have a little tang. I'll show you guys how to do this. This is way easier to do when you have the motor out of the bike. I should have done this a long time ago, but it's been in and out enough times where it's kind of a pain. I do have one of these O-rings pressed in already, so I'll show you how I went about doing that. I'm going to grease this. And I actually drop it in from the primary side, so let me go over there. I'll shove this O-ring in, pull it back into the place that it needs to be, and then we'll wrestle the tang and the shaft through the motor mount and the primary. On the primary side, we have the kicker shaft bushing. So I'm going to put a little bit of grease in here. I'm also going to just kind of lube up the back side of that. Now, when you have this motor in the bike already, this is kind of a huge pain because the swing arm is in the way of everything. So what I'm going to do here is push this through. Wipe the grease off of my fingers. We're going to push this O-ring through from this side, but I do have room to get around to the back side here. So I'm going to put my finger through here to kind of catch the edge of this. Drop the O-ring in, up, until that kind of falls almost all the way through. And then just press this back in from the back side of the motor. Like I said, it's a little tight on this back side, but it is reachable. Barely. So that's through. You get a lot more room if your foot pegs, passenger peg mount is gone too. I don't have that luxury, but we got both O-rings now in the groove. If I bring you guys down a hair, that's the hole that goes all the way through the primary. So we're going to grease up the end of this. Do not forget the little detent. So we'll grease up the shaft here, like so. And now this is the part that kind of sucks. On the back side, I'll give you guys whatever I can see. I don't know how much you guys are going to actually be able to see on this. But down on the bottom of the motor, there's a little boss on the case. That's where this little tang needs to go. So I'm going to wrestle this one in. There's no good way for you guys to see that, but take my word for it. If you look at the actual case of the motor, you'll see it. You guys aren't going to be able to see anything I'm doing here, but look at that air cleaner.
Like this video if you want John to buy me dinner.
Don't be ridiculous. We have too many choppers. So the tang is down at the bottom of this hole that you guys can't see. But there's a flat section here machined into this. That's because there's a flat section that this is notched for the swing arm clearance. So essentially this is going to go through here underneath in between the motor mount. So I don't know if you guys are actually going to be able to see this, but essentially like that, but it sits flush on the case. So now I have to very gently try and press this in there without dropping it in between the frame a million times. Yeah, that actually kind of shows up. So that's stuck on the back side on the grease that I have back there. That tang is going to get shifted over just a little bit, but I'm going to try and do that with the actual kicker shaft, because then it won't fall all the way down into the case, and this is where you guys won't be able to see anything moving forward. We are through the O-rings. Now I get to try and verify that this tang is actually lined up where it's supposed to be. Which it is. So we are good. Take my word for that. I can see it. You guys will not be able to. Sorry. Like I said, I like to try and do that before I put the motors in. I didn't do that this time. So now I get to pay the price for that one. But now we got a kicker shaft nub over here, so let me grab some paper towel, clean up some of the grease on the end of this, like so. And then I gotta dig out all the kicker and starter gear stuff. I'll be right back. Alright, now that the kicker shaft is through, you do want to line up the notch for the kicker pedal at 12 o'clock. So at 12 o'clock, that's going to go through on the cam side. Here's your starter gear. This is going to go up and onto here. There's a full U shape here on the starter gear. Line these up to engage onto the shaft. On the kicker gear, I got some assembly lube here on the primary shell. Shaft. Some assembly lube on the kicker starter gear. So we're going to drop this in where the spring will settle, like that. This is where it gets a little goofy because we need this to engage, but we want it to engage in the half moon area, and this is going to keep trying to spring out on you. But again, you do want that at 12 o'clock, so right there I'm bottomed out. So set the shaft to 12 o'clock on the opposite side, and I gotta find some nuts and bolts here. Sorry, I got ahead of myself here, forgot to hit record. Here's a sprocket nut, here's the gear. They're lined up on this side of the U, so the U comes from here to here, lined up on the end of the pin here, and then on the other side of the kicker shaft, the marks for the kicker pedal bolt is at 12 o'clock, exactly where we want it. This gear is going to try and kick out, so you got to make sure you get all of this assembled together. And then we're going to grab the impact, zip this one down, bend the tang over, and we can move on to the rest of the primary. You saw the spring kick back there. That's fine. I'm just going to bring this back over to the open side of the gear, remesh it up like so, put some downward pressure on that, and then this is what keeps it in place. Like so. Now we're back at that 12 o'clock mark. Bottomed out here, we got to bend these tangs back over. I'm not doing that one yet. I don't think I'm going to finalize the primary yet. I'm going to keep jamming away on some other parts of this first, like the oil tank. And then I'm going to start messing with the primary stuff once I get the wheels back on and it's up in the air. That'll actually wrap this one up for the night. I might keep working on the oil tank. I'm not going to be talking through that one. It will be a time lapse because I have a helper in the garage and she wants to listen to music while she's polishing up the wheels and the rest of the aluminum and all the other brackets I need to put this thing back together. That's worth more than talking to you guys. So
Oh yeah, it is.
put the camera up on the tripod. We'll do a little time lapse in here. Back to work. Alright, rest of tonight is going to be time lapse because we're going to turn on some tunes, just kind of hang out. She's going to keep cleaning up some stuff. I'm going to start jamming away on the oil tank. I'll try and put the tripod in a good spot. Not walking you through it. Enjoy. Well, we're jamming away on this thing slowly but surely. I am out of quarter-inch hardware at the house. I don't know how that happened. Usually keep a pretty good stock of that, so that's delaying us. Also waiting on a couple stupid little parts. I need a seal for the outer one to finish up the sprocket shaft side. So that's going to be a couple days. Probably won't be here till Monday. So we are really going to be on crunch time. I have to basically have this bike completely done by Friday. Started messing around with the front end. Dropped everything roughly on. The fork caps, the new ones, the clean ones, are on. Still need to pull those and fill it with oil. But I'm going to save all the fluids in one shot. So we're going to do all of those at once. Just laying out the rest of the mock-up stuff right now. Got 2-piece bracket, I got 1-piece bracket. I got to figure out which one's going to fit better. Chrome and black always work. So whatever I can replace. And then just a matter of, here's some newer sporty shocks that I have laying around. This is the crusty ones. Do have a nicer new set sitting over here that I think should work just fine. Wiring wise, still going to have to figure that part out. Inner shield on the primary is done. 1/4 inches. I need to finish up the oil tank stuff. But we got the sprocket cover on temporarily. Spring is in. This ratcheting gear is all working proper. And I can't put the primary in until I get the seals and a couple other kicker gear parts. I want the lock washer for the kickstart gear. I've had really bad luck with the primary. On the primary side, I've had stuff back out and wedge in the chain and explode and blow up the whole motor. So I'm a little bit more particular about that. In this case, I don't think it's going to make the biggest difference in the world, but I kind of got everything laid out. This one's busted up and super worn out, so I want to replace that. I have every other lock tab, 12 of them, 12, 15, maybe even 20 of them. For every other lock tab, I got 5 of these, 10 of these, I don't know. All of the other lock tab stuff except for that one, I'm waiting to put the primary in because of that. So that's where we're at tonight. I'm going to keep jamming away on this. I'll throw you guys over in this corner. We're just doing a quick little time-lapsey thing anyway. So there's that. Keep blasting away on this headlight stuff.